Welcome back to CryptosRus. I am George. We're all George. Even though yesterday the outflow was pretty negative from all funds, you know who wasn't selling? BlackRock. BlackRock is developing true diamond hand status at this point, even though other funds, other Wall Street giants are selling off their ETFs, not BlackRock. And there's a reason for that. Because they are killing it with revenue. They smashed the revenue by 25% because of their iShares ETF demand. People love it. People are buying it, and they're making money from the fees, and they're buying it themselves too. So that's the big reason. There's a lot of interest and money there. But that does show you the interest is still there. It's not gone. This is just temporary. We always go through some of these times where it seems like we'll never get out. We'll never, ever, ever get out of our situation. You know, a really easy way to remind yourself of that is this period right here. You know, and that was only last year. You know, when we first hit 73,000, people were like, yeah, we're going to go straight to 100,000 right away. But then guess what? Over the next 6, 7, 8 months, we couldn't even form a new high. We kept trending downwards. And you know when we broke out? If you look at this point right here, that is the third week of October. We went sideways and trended down for an entire year, basically, before we hit October, and that's when we did this, okay? So if you're thinking, well, right now it just seems like it's horrible. We've never seen this before. It's feeling so bearish. Just remind yourself what happened last year for the entire year when I was streaming from March all the way to October, and we did nothing but form lower highs and lower lows. It seemed bad. It seemed like we were going to break downwards. No, we broke upwards. And even earlier this year, when we hit 110, we fell all the way back to 73,000, guys. That was a big drop. That's like a 30% drop. A lot of people forgot about that. That's earlier this year. Wasn't that long ago. And what happened after a 30% drop? Boom, we went back up and formed a new high. So if you're thinking, this is probably a really bad time, we haven't seen something like this in a long, long time. No, you just have to look back earlier this year or even last year. We've been through this. We've been through much worse. Much, much worse. This is very tame compared to what we've experienced already. All right. Outside of that, guess what? Guess what? The largest asset manager in Europe is also going to get in on the fun with Bitcoin ETP because there's just a lot of interest. Like I said, interest is still there. It's very high. These guys wouldn't be issuing ETFs or ETPs if there wasn't a lot of demand, because ultimately what they want is to make money. And if there's no demand, they're not going to make any money. It's that simple. JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon used to say, hey, if I catch anyone at my firm dealing with Bitcoin and crypto, they're going to be fired. Well, not only are they doing that, the entire firm plans on pushing for crypto trading. Obviously, what he said was false. And every single big bank is considering this or doing custody, like Citibank, because again, the demand is there and they all want to make money. You don't want to let anyone else have advantage, right? So all these big banks are getting in, and Wall Street loves it. So again, this is a bigger picture kind of thing, right? Bigger picture. You got to pay attention to these kind of things. And you know what else? Elon is starting to talk more about Bitcoin. You know, when he went through his phase, like, oh, I'm going to create another party, he said it was going to be funded by Bitcoin. Also, he just responded to Zero Hedge here. And let's just bring it up. And he says, true, this is why Bitcoin is based on energy. You could issue fake fiat currency, and every government in history has done so, but it's impossible to fake energy. And I've always said that before. I guess if you had to make an argument why Bitcoin, beyond being a great store of value and medium exchange and a great technology blockchain or base layer, right? The value of Bitcoin could be derived from the electricity cost to produce one. So if there's, I don't think anyone ever asked this anymore, but maybe your friends and family could ask, like, you know, Bitcoin's digital. It's not based on anything. How could it have value? Well, just think about how much it costs a miner in electricity cost to produce a Bitcoin. So at the very least, that is the value of a single Bitcoin. And last year, it was still like 50,000. This year, I don't know what it is. It could be close to like 70, 80, or $90,000 to mine one single Bitcoin based on the cost of electricity. I'm going to do some research and figure that out. Or you may ask Grok or someone. But it's very high. So you can't fake that. That's just how much it costs. Right? But anyways, Elon's turning more bullish on Bitcoin. So I guess that's good. I mean, this is good. All right, what else is there? The MVRV, which usually measures the top, right? Still looking good. We're at this baseline level. But whatever we look at these or look at other like metrics, none of them really show we're anywhere close to the top, right? So that's the good thing. In fact, a lot of them are showing that we got a long ways to go. We're nowhere close to the top. And even with, let's say, the sell-off, okay? Let's just name it, the sell-off. 90% of Bitcoin supply is still in profit. Because again, earlier this year, we fell down to the 80s, 70s. That was just a few months ago. And last year, we were still sitting in the 50s, right? So obviously, a lot of you guys have been DCing over time. And if you have been, this is nothing. This is nothing. This is just a distraction. A little pothole during your destination. That's the best way to think about it. Okay? Best way to think about it. We have seen this before. We have seen this right before Uptobers. Look at it. The first 10 days of October in 2023, guess what happened? Bitcoin went down. Guess what happened in the first 10 days of October in 2024? Bitcoin went down. What about the first 10 days of this October? Bitcoin went down. But what happened in those last two Uptobers? After the first 2 weeks, about the third week, we started skyrocketing to the moon. Are we going to see something like that? Quite possibly. Nothing has really changed. And we still have another rate cut coming. Let's not forget about that. That's coming up in 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks. So, again, a lot of you guys disappointed. I know, I could tell. It sucks. You wake up in the middle of the night. You check your phone. You're like, why are we down? No one likes to see that. Okay, I get it. But if you just put it into perspective And just remember, we have seen this before. We have seen this playbook. We have seen massive liquidations. We have seen macro fears over trade disputes. We have seen fears over wars that have broken out. And every single time, we recover pretty quickly. And the times we don't recover quickly, well, they're now seen as golden buying opportunities now that we have passed those times. Like, how many of you guys would not like cut off your own arm right now to go back to buy Bitcoin at 70,000 just like 5 months ago, or to buy Bitcoin at 40,000 last year, right? It sucked during those times. But now, in hindsight, you're like, I should have went all in on those times. You know, that's how it always is. Hindsight is 20/20 after the fact.